Greetings and welcome back. And now we're going to be working on part two, right? It's just going to give a bit more style, and we're going to keep on focus on the functionality of our upload component, right? Until we get to the point where we're practically done. So ultimately, I'm thinking of about making sure styling this properly, making sure that stylistically it looks meaningful, looks how we want it to look, and then we're going to go ahead and continue focus on we want to go ahead and continue and then focus on drag and drop functionality. And I think we could just go ahead and copy and paste that code in the third section, right? So what I want to go ahead and do to better visualize this, because right now this is basically for like mobile. I'm thinking about stretching it out a bit. I'm thinking, let's see how that looks. Right, if I want to just keep going. Right, so if I go to the so let's name this one, and then I'll just get this one so I can see it stretch. Right, so still has a split of 50, right? Oddly enough, right? We don't want that. We kind of want to see it stretch, or does it even want to stretch? That's what I'm thinking. Right, but then the pod kind of stops at 50. Right, so if I go collegiate sign up, I want to grab its globals, so I want to see how this phone's getting modified. Let's comment this out. Let's see how that looks. Alright, so nicely enough, right? The issue was there in the team. Right, so now this is really just spread out, right? I kind of want that to have a max, so now I'm working on it. Kind of want to give these icons a max width. Alright, so don't want them to keep growing, but I definitely want those font sizes to be larger. Don't want to commit to it too much. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is that I'm going to eventually want class prefix. Alright, so it's a string, so I can't really tell. Pod 1 icon, and I'm gonna go ahead and say 1 2 3 0 1 2 3, and I'm gonna use mixins for the commonality. Right, FA solid. Right. So it's going to take care of that. Insert snippet, icon. Now I want to say 4. We use the for statement for now. Then when push comes to shove, from 0 through 3, say font size is font size 2. Let's see how that looks. Right, yeah, so that looks really nice. That's how I would like it to look. Alright. I would like that check. I'll like that check mark box to be a bit larger than this X marks to be a bit larger than it already is. So let's go ahead and try to do that now. And I'm thinking that the color should be black as well. Right, but now everything kind of looks uncentered. But let me see if I could deal with that. Right, so I'm gonna give it a color. Right, BS dark. Right, actually, let's make that light, because ultimately what I'm going to end up doing, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to make it, I'm going to give them, boxes to be in. Alright, so align items equals center, I believe. Try to see if you can get that slight nudge to center. Alright, so now it wants to center properly. That's super nice. I appreciate that. Right, and now, right, I want to, for each of these, I want them to have a border. PX solid red. Let's see how that looks, right? So that's not looking the best. I really don't want that, right? I kind of want, so C stretch. Let's see if I can get a line on this to stretch, because ultimately I want these to have a border, right? But if I'm not going to get that border, right, then I'm going to have to make a div around these icons, right? And then that div will just have to be the background, right? So you go ahead and work on that right now. Right. So we'll go ahead and say div. Alright. That's a bit of IntelliSense. Right, there's still that. Right, and what I really would like to do is I'll like to start to leverage NG4 so I don't have to repeat myself, but unfortunately I will. So class pod 1 item 4. Item 4. Right, and now here, so I want my borders to be. And I'm thinking to myself, it's really not gonna look like this. It's probably gonna be alright, so definitely the height is gonna be 100%. But flex, if it's flex, it's gonna 0, 0, 25%. I want to have it keep that square. Alright, so I think what's happening here is the padding. Right, so it's kind of a lot of padding going on, and it's not going to meaningfully give me what I want. I'm also going to say include flex center column. Ooh, flex column center. That doesn't exist. I know it doesn't. Right, I kind of want these items to center. Actually, it's not going to center very well. But do it like that. Right. So align it. So just want to say justify content center. And ultimately, what I want for this is its padding, right? So now the padding that I have here on this LI, I believe, I'm going to have to remove it. I'm going to have to really figure out what to do, because padding can't come here, because I want this to stretch to this size. Right, so if I can't get padding, what I could do is I could provide for a min height, which probably gives some gap. Alright, so say spacing 9. That should not do it. I'm not too familiar with the spacings I have. Right, so that is kind of where I need it. Maybe somewhere between spacing 8 and 9. Right. I like it to be a bit larger. Let me try to move this outline and see how that looks. Alright, kind of doesn't look too bad to me. Alright, so now as I'm working on it, right, I think what I'm really thinking is that I want to use a random CSS slider. I don't want to have to want to like select a color for these each and every time. I kind of want to leverage SCSS. I'm going to see if we could get some random dark backgrounds, right, to go against this, right? So with that, let's see how this looks. This is going to look in color, SCSS. Okay, right, so Microsoft, not the best search engine in the world, but it's a very good search engine. Alright, so look, Cotan. That is very nice. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab this mixin. So random DGR. Right, so let's go grab this functionality. Say background color is darken. Let's say 30. So let's see how that looks. And hopefully I get dark backgrounds, it gets some light. I'm thinking it's going to be very difficult. But, right, so, right, so basically for each child, right, I want a different background. I'm kind of not getting that here. I'm honestly wondering if I'm getting all the different, right, oh, so I have to save this to recompile. And then, right, so SCSS is not recompiled, so I should get a different, okay, now I'm not, right, but, so now I'm thinking, right, item 4, right, so there's basically four children here, right, so let me go ahead and say, well, ultimately, I want to get rid of my classes here, and I just want to replace them with and I want to get rid of the class here, right? So it's going to be more manageable for me, because I just know that these have icons, so, and I don't want to get into like 7 divs, so let's kind of go ahead and do it like that. Alright, so I kind of have things for the most part. Now I kind of lost where my SCSS is. Right, so now hopefully for these, right, I get a different background color. It kind of wants to evaluate this in a way that I need it to. Now let's see, amount is by 30. Right, that's very nice, right? It's very nice. Right, so then if I'm working, right, so that's really working as intended. Right, and then I think if I get a hover effect for each of these, let's try to add a little hover, and then ultimately these should be buttons if that's how they're going to behave. Huh. I don't know why colors turning black. Did I indicate this? I'm not sure if I did. So color. Now let's say the icon again is BS dark. Alright. Alright, so that really looks nice. Or these values are too much. Alright, this should work. And this is really meaningful. Right, so that's how that looks. And that's how I definitely like it like that. Right, but these values, they're not going to stay. They're not going to be around to stay. Obviously, you know, they're going to be different, right, based on what's going on. So that's how that value looks. So now what I want to work on is for this item, right, I want to give it some padding, right? So padding, I want to say spacing 3. I want to see how that looks. Right? And then maybe I want to center everything. Even though it's not obvious that's the case, let me try to get that. Display flex. Align items center. Let's close off the spacing just to see how that looks. Alright, so that looks the way I need it to look. Right, so there's that. Alright, sounds good, sounds good. Alright, so for the most part, so far so good. Right, and now, basically this is supposed to work. This is supposed to work such as this is supposed to be 50-50, right? So desktop size, it looks good, but mobile size, how do I want this to look? So it kind of snaps on the mobile, really not intended, right? So ultimately, what we want is we want this to wrap. So these are when the icons are, pod 1, item 3, flex. So I'm going to say flex flow is row wrap. So let's see how that looks. Ooh, that kind of, not too sure what's going on there, but kind of not wrapping the way I need to wrap. So kind of let's try to see. Okay, so I definitely alright, so I definitely want, you know, the space to be filled up, right, as I expand and shrink this. I wanted to try and take up all the available space. Right, so that means it needs to be flex is 1, because I think it's at flex 0, 0, 25. But at the same time, like I kind of don't want 3 and 1. Yeah, like we have right, like the situation we have right now, I kind of want this to be 2 and 2. Right, 1, 2, and 4. So, right, so definitely I'm getting these values to fill, but right, so as we continue to work on it, so ultimately, right, so ultimately we'll like for these to be 2 and 2, right, but I think it's going to be the same color unless something about the CSS changes. Alright, so I kind of get to see that border, but what I would really want is for these two to stretch, fill, stretch and fill their container here. This is the 0025. Align items to center. Let's say stretch. I think, right? If I say stretch, right, good. Right, so now it's kind of filling the space that it's supposed to fill. And now if I just go back and get everything stretched out meaningfully, let's see if everything snaps, everything stays intact. Alright, so everything stays intact for the most part. Let's try to bring it back. Right, so I'm really thinking to myself, because on mobile, right, there's going to be a certain display. When this item's at a certain width, right, then Flex tries to change, right? So basically, it's what Fluxbox is trying to indicate. So I think what I could do is I could do a min width, right? That would just, or a maximum width. Let's try to do a maximum width. Max width. Spacing 5. Alright, so let me try to get the actual width of this thing. Alright, so kind of has a lot. Alright, so it's going to take a lot before it actually wants to. Alright, so basically at this width, can't be any larger than that. So it's fine. Let's find out its actual width. Let's say 77. I think this is going to have to happen at a certain breakpoint. Yeah. Huh. Right, yeah, so it's definitely not max width, but if I'm thinking about this again, I want to grow. Let me see if I say 1, 1. Yeah, so basically when there's not enough space, it wants to like 1 by 1 stack and unstack. Right, so we're at like a certain range. I'm thinking if I could use min and max, right? So if I'm thinking about this, right? There's like a range of widths I don't want this to be, and this is calculation. Anytime you're trying to do calculation, this is not good. But you know, I'm ultimately what I'm gonna do. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this for now, because I know that some of these icons are going to come and disappear. So we're definitely gonna leave this for later. I do know that to easily manage this, I'm going to want to try to leverage mobile, right? But since this is a container component, definitely going to leave that by the wayside. All right, so with that, right, what I would like is the upload functionality. Probably is not going to be right. So upload functionality is going to be there, right? We've tried functionality, right? So the file is going to be in a certain state, right? It's going to be in a state where it's going to be in several states, right? So it's basically, so right now I've uploaded, I've basically attached the file, so it's in the attached state, right? So what I want to go ahead and do here is I want to signify. And so based on the states, right, that's going to be whether I get to see these values. Alright, so state will be attached. And I remember last time I was doing this, I think I did the state wrong, but we'll see. So it's going to be attached, upload error, upload success. I'll deal it. So we say attach error, success, upload attach error, upload error, and upload success. And right now, it's at attach success. And I'm gonna keep that at attach success. Probably set the value. I'm probably not gonna set it equal to anything, so I just know. Right. So here, this is for file upload. Right. What I want to go ahead and do. So I get a file upload item, parens.files.push. Right, so so yeah, that doesn't go here. Right, this is the parameters, not the upload item. Right, so basically, file's going to be in a certain state. Right, it's gonna have to set the default there because I'm not going to have it. Right, I guess that's a good thing to know. Attach use attach success. Right, so basically those are my values. What I'm going to do with now. So basically, when attach success is uploaded, right, then that retry, right, that's going to have to go. Now, so basically, right, there's going to be like a set of arrays. So basically, going to have an ngIf includes alright, yeah, so yeah, it doesn't belong in there. Alright, belongs on the outside. Right, so now I get 3 icons as desired. Oh, so I guess something went wrong here. Right, so I see attach success. Right, so my ngIf is kind of, let's see if I'm getting an error. Right, let's try to disable the change detection to see if that's being affected too. Alright, so it's not because of change detection. right? So I'm thinking about, what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking of a listener. So items of params.files. Let's see if I can get this to react, or it's not going to work this way. I think it's just not going to work this way, right? Huh, it's kind of weird. If attach success includes item state, oh, I think I know what's happening. Need as a string. Alright, so alright, that's good. Alright, so that's gonna be good for the most part. Right, so basically I'm gonna say try to upload. Right, so so unfortunately, right, I think I want to have its own. I want this to have its own string, because as soon as I say, as I put another parameter in here, right, this is going to get very, very complex. So I might want to try to set up a observable and try to like listen for changes, or try to have these parameters pass through, right, and call functions. Right, so I kind of want to probably set up the subscriber, a subject, and set next, right, because there's not going to be a really meaningful way, because this is like the upload icon, but there's not going to be a really meaningful way for me, right, and then cancel, and then obviously cancel upload. Right, so there's that, but it's not really going to be a meaningful way for me. Right, I could say that, but when these states change, I'm going to have to have a meaningful way to kind of understand what I'm working with, right? So right, so this has to, right, so these functions are kind of all over the place a bit. This functionality is kind of all over the place a bit. So I think what I'm not to do is that I'm not to subscribe. Every time there's a change to the state of the button, I'm not to subscribe. I'm not to call for functions that decide where these values should appear or not. Right. So file upload item. So basically, right, there's going to be 4 functions. Right, so upload is present. Right, let's set that equal to false. Okay, so delete is present. Let's set that equal to false. So retry is present. Set that equal to false again. And then cancel is present. Set that equal to false. Alright, so instead of all this scary looking logic, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to put my ng ifs in places. So item dot. And now I'm going to just go ahead and grab these values like so. Right, so now basically now the values should show up, right? And now every time there's a state, every time there's a certain state, right, that I kind of want to So I think by default, right, so in that case, I kind of want a begin state. Right, so I don't think it's ever going to be an attach error. I think it's going to be an upload error, right? So that's not going to be necessary. So I'm going to need that file, right? And I'm going to need something to happen, right? So if this is basically if there's attached success, then upload is present, right? That's going to be based on certain scenarios, right? Delete, right? That's going to be true. Only thing that's going to be true, right? Set that to true. Alright, so okay, I think I know what's going on. Right, so I actually kind of need this to be a class right now. Any. Alright, so for the time being. Right, so I kind of have no values there. Right, so file, name, EG, index 0, like so. Right, and all there is, right, is a garbage icon. Right, so based on the state, right, so I think based on the state, then these values are going to change. So every time there's an update to the state, then these values are going to need to change. And I think I may not need a observable for that, but I'll definitely I think definitely, you know, as this file goes through this component, right, what we want is we want these buttons to appear and disappear. Right, so now I want to focus on if this gets called, right, then if this functionality gets called, right, I want to be able to work with them like so. Right, so I'll say click equals upload file, delete file, retry upload, and then cancel upload. Right, so um, so item. That Copilot was going to do something interesting. Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to filter, return file, thing equals item. Right, so when I go ahead and delete, and it disappears, right? And then just for safety, so that's cd ref dot detect changes. Right, so basically, I think what we'd like is that. I think what we would like to know, right, if there's an upload endpoint, right? If there's a place I could upload my files to, but trying to think, right? So yeah, basically that functionality, right? Upload. Right, I'm thinking if it should be observable. I think it should be observable. Function equals function that returns observable. Alright, so then I want to say, so that I could go ahead and say stop param stop upload. Right, so right, basically I want to grab like a boolean, right? So basically I wanted by using double equals, I kind of see that that value is there, right? So if the value is there, right, then I get a function. If not, right, so equals alright, so kind of not working the way I want it, but so upload function, right? So I see a value there. So item.upload is present, right? So okay, right. So it's present there, but unless it specifically gets added, right? So I think what needs to happen, right? Need to be able to. Okay, now I start to see it. And also one thing I'm thinking, right, for the future is that I want to make these conditional. I don't want to make all of these pop up at once. I want to make it so that like if a user decides that if the management decides that certain files we want uploaded and certain files we don't, or I want to be able to provide that. Right, but I think for now, right, you just know that functionality is there. So that's what that double thing made is equal. Right, cast the value as a boolean. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and change that back to false. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that value. It's reloading. And then I think what I'll do next is that ultimately I want to work on maybe I want to work on the drag and drop, and then I think for now, I think before that even I work on the drag and drop, I want to make sure when the list of files get too long, that we probably have some scrolling implemented or pagination, if not scrolling. And I think what happened now is that my browser is frozen. So I'm just gonna wait till it gets back online. Alright, so as we continue, we have that functionality there. So I think the next thing we want to go ahead and work on is, so basically what happens, right, when so basically what happens when I have too many files. Let's kind of see how that looks. So definitely want there to be a limit. Right, so I definitely don't want to see, so things like this, right? So I definitely don't want my form to snap, right? Everything looks intact, but I definitely don't want my form to snap like this, right? So let's go ahead and work on that. Let's provide scrolling. Let's go to the CSS for this, right? So I believe it's going to be my unordered list, item 0, pod 1, item 0. So max height, let's say px, so let's say spacing 10, overflow is auto, course 3c10 is going to be very, very small for this, right? Yeah, a bit too small. And then I think one of the things I would like to do is I also like to get rid of the scroll bar. I don't want to see the scroll bar. So to file here, I believe modern scroll bar, right? It's a very long scroll bar. Right, so display is none. So let's kind of see how that looks. Alright, so I want to say bang important. Pod's not listening, but this is important. I don't want to see it. Alright, so I guess it's going to be harder. Let's try to see what's going on here in these values. Right, so I think I want to say add WebKit scroll bar. Right, so now I have the scroller. Right, so that's actually a very neat trick. Right, so there's that. So ultimately, I could use that on the Tech Plus wall page, right, as well. Right, so that's actually very, very good to know. Right, so basically, that's basically going to be the max height that this could go. Right, as I said, delete these. Right then I kind of get back to a meaningful size. Right, so there's that. Right, and then I think the last thing before I end off this part of the section is I want to end off with like a limit, and then for the next video I want to focus on drag and drop. Right, so I believe I provided a limit here, right? But now if I say a limit is greater than 3, right? So basically I want the limit to integrate. So if this dot duplicates, so I want to go ahead and say if this dot files dot length is greater than is greater than or equal to the limit to this dot limit, I believe. Right, return false. But anyway, return true. Alright, so I think with the file's already there, I have 10 files. So I believe we could just make this 0 for now. What if I'll get an error? Right, so get 1, get 2. Right, so what did I say the limit was? Okay. Alright, so it looks like it's going past the limit. Let's try to see if it's not like a Boolean thing. Oh, so it actually went past it. Alright, so obviously, you know, this predicate's not working. Let's try to go. So basically what I want result of that, usually put in a result variable, but use the opposite operator instead. Oh, okay. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Right, so interestingly, it's not working the way I need it to. And I'm just wondering if it's straight just uploading at this point. Okay, so I think what happens is that it never makes it to this, right? So this.files.length is less than or equal to, right? So I think that return statement stopped there, right? So now I said the limit is 1. It went through. Okay, so now it didn't go through, but that limit is 2, right? So wait, and I think it's gonna have to be less at this point because I'm not too sure, right? So this is like before. So to get the limit to stop at 1, right? I believe what we're gonna have to do is provide for that, right? So now there's still just 1 at the end of it. It's just avatar image, right? Good. Right, but then limit is going to be infinity. I think, I think for now we'll just keep the limit at 4 because I don't want a situation where the user's limited, but at the same time there's a hacker who just comes along and just uploads as many files as they want. So that so on and so forth. Right, so I think this last style guide that I wanted to apply, right, is this line. I kind of don't want it here, so kind of looks a bit interesting. Right, so I want to go ahead and say ng if the length is greater than 0. Alright, so I'm not sure if that's the exact line. So ultimately, right, I usually don't get to see these values, but let's see what this looks like. Try to evaluate it, see it in the browser, see if it thinks it's true. Alright, so I'm not seeing it in the browser where I wanted to see it. Okay, so I see the value false, right? But okay, so this section itself has a border. Okay. I think I see what's going on. So let's kind of deal with that. Let's give the border to the outline. Right, good. And then let's try to add a file. Let's see how that looks. that that's ultimately how we want things. I think this has a border, if I'm not mistaken. I see a little border of sorts. Actually, yeah, I do see a border. Want to get rid of that border, and then I think we're just gonna, and then that'll be the end of this. Right, so thanks for watching. I'm going to remove the border, but definitely thanks for watching. Right, please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, reach out to me in the comments for any help, tips, and suggestions. Right, so you definitely feel free to watch as I try to remove the border from this line here. But if not, until next time. I think I know what's happening. Oh, that's on the. Nah. Yeah, so border is 9, so that's going to look really, really nice next go around. Right, so there's that. Right, so now I'm going to be working on the drag and drop functionality.